一つほどくとそよ風を呼び、二つほどけば強風を呼び、三つほど
This was a really enjoyable chapter to read. Every now and then, you get a One Piece chapter where you kind of forget to breathe throughout, and then you go through it so fast. You put down your phone or computer or whatever you're using to read, and then 10 minutes later, you go back, you read it again. And then an hour later, you read it again. And then maybe the next day, you even read it one more time, because it's just like a fun experience, right? So in this chapter, we pretty much conclude Egghead. We get emphasis on the fact that Haki transcends all. Words from the famous Kaido that is put on full display here with the sealed attack that Emet uses by untying the knot, which is a great callback to Weather Area, where Nami was sent by Kuma after the events of Sabaody. Outside of that, really there's only two other key points to touch on, and that's establishing a stronger relationship between the Gorosei and Imu, right? So Miu-sama is impacted by the Conqueror's Haki, immediately recognizes it as Joy Boy, and by the way, I think this is actually the first time that either Miu or the Gorosei have referred to Joy Boy in particular. Most often, I believe they've actually just been referencing Nika, so that's an interesting take, and I'm guessing that's because not so much of the form, but the recognition of the Haki that was used. And this really reminded me of how Brook's soul powers kind of are able to influence beings on a lower frequency. I'm not necessarily saying Brook would be a great opponent against the Gorosei. However, you just kind of take that application and you apply it with Conqueror's Haki, and if your Conqueror's Haki is strong enough, this is a feat that's very similar to what Shanks did to Greenbow, right? We saw him push Greenbow out of his Logia state and, in a sense, kind of paralyze him. This takes it one step further. It looks like it not only pushed the Gorosei out of their yokai forms, but sent some of them back to Mariejois. And I'm not sure if that's because they just got like obliterated by the attack, and you know that's what caused the damage to Mew. But let me know what you guys think about that. That was a great connection, and so obviously we know in order to defeat Mew, you're gonna have to have OD Conqueror's Haki. The next point to touch on is, of course, the silhouette of Joy Boy. It's very interesting. So there was a lot of theories out there that Joy Boy was a giant, and because we got the giant straw hat, the silhouette, right, it looks really similar to past silhouettes that we got when Roger had the straw hat and like a cape. It looks like Luffy with the straw hat and the cape he had in Wano. Of course, we all can see the peg leg, and it even looks like the arm on his right side is like mechanical, as if he almost got crushed Obito style. Which would make a lot of sense. It would be pretty cool if Joy Boy was like born malformed or something in the Ancient Kingdom and they were able to kind of like reconstruct him. That would be an interesting backstory, but that was a really cool interaction we got with Emet and Joy Boy. Emet definitely gives off like those child vibes. I don't know if you guys ever saw Full Metal Alchemist, but in Full Metal Alchemist there's like a robot that is occupied by the soul of a child, and it just kind of seems very similar, especially when you give a thought to like how sentient Emet is. It just doesn't seem like it's just a robot. It's way too sentient to be able to recognize what's going on now, the past, and all that stuff. So that was a really cool interaction, which made it really fun. A lot of questions, I think, come out of this. You know, I'm sure a lot of theories about what Joy Boy is, where he comes from. My main like question takeaway is like more about like the D-Clan, right? So I think the D-Clan has just been so muddled ever since we got the revelation that Vivi was a part of the D-Clan. The fact that Emet recognizes D and that's like his final trigger point to use the Haki attack that was sealed is a very kind of critical point in the chapter. And so hopefully we learn more about that on our way to Elbaf. We get some other quick shots of some of the major players. Buggy's charisma is on full display. I found that kind of part in the chapter really fun, right? He's like, it's not my world, it's our world. Spoken like a true leader. And then we see the advancement with the Caribou storyline. So really interested to see what Blackbeard does with that information and where he'll target first. I'm not going to lie, I think the easiest target would be to go get Shirahoshi, but that's just my thoughts. Kind of interesting. We didn't see any connection to Shanks or any like point out to Shanks in this chapter, even though we got kind of the other major players. And then Kobe, we have his reaction. You know, he thinks he'll be able to stop Luffy, which is really interesting. So if you've been watching like my other reviews, I've been kind of harping on the point that the civilians are going to have to make a decision on whether or not to align with pirates or align with government, and this kind of brings that full circle, right? So the pirates have the ambition to find the One Piece to reveal the truth. They're also seafaring beings, so when the tides rise, that's a way for them to kind of help the citizens. And I think as more countries become rebellious against the world government and the world government doesn't lend their support, we'll see more relationship between pirates and civilians. But yeah, that's all I got for this chapter. It was really fun. Oda, even though he kind of like dragged out the Vegapunk message and the yapping, he definitely knows how to conclude arcs with a bang, and I would definitely say this is one of them, and I'm looking forward to Elbaf. So until next time, Techu out.